play a character who is a reverse engineer, and a lot of what happens to him and the way he sees the world is sort of taken from his occupation in a sense. He's a guy who takes something that's already constructed, deconstructs it, figures out its secrets, and then figures out how to rebuild it, and in some cases improve on it.
He can take a competitor's product, he can break it down, he can reinvent it, and we can come out with a competitive product.
The companies, when they hire him, require him to erase all of his memory of working for them in order that they might fully own the technology. And even the person who designs it has no memory of the technology they created isn't really a problem for him. He's a guy with nothing in his life, more or less living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. Mostly what the movie's about is his using his brain, basically, to work his way backwards out of problem. He's guessing as to when he's supposed to use the hairspray, when he's supposed to use the lighter, the coin, the crossword puzzle. It makes for a really, really smart, interesting story.
Take the right-hand turn first.
That's a wonderful role, Michael Jennings. Ben just looks so strong and so rooted in himself.
To be honest, my first choice was Matt Damon. But unfortunately, Matt, he had schedule problems, so he was highly recommended Ben Affleck to me. Which is fine, you know. I also love Ben Affleck. I think he's very, very smart and very professional, you know, and also I like his look. He reminds me of the young Cary Grant.
I could see his look being modeled on Cary Grant. And I watched Ben on the monitor the other day, and I was like, wow, he's turned into a real grown-up movie star.
I'm happy to continue blathering on, trying helplessly to charm you, but I thought maybe, you know, cut to the chase and just, you know, go somewhere.
I'll tell you what, Michael. I'm going to walk over there and talk to a friend of mine. If you get the urge to have a real conversation, you'll know where to find me.
I wanted to make this film like Alfred Hitchcock style. Ben got it right away. Oh yeah, I love it. You know, this Cary Grant. He came up with the idea where to get the suit, the tie, different hairstyle. You know, and it was his design. You know.
North by Northwest is a big influence on this, and John, I think, wanted to do and direct the movie in a way that was like some of the classic Hitchcock thrillers, in the sense that it's almost got a sort of retro feel, and the way the tension's built is like a movie that was made in the 40s or 50s. One of the interesting things about this movie is, you know, I think even the Rethrick character has this line, is Michael Jennings is not a super agent. This is not a guy who's a Superman or a super spy or superhuman or super anything.
Michael Jennings is not a super agent. He's an engineer. Yet somehow he managed to escape from a double-locked room. How? Was it fate? No, fate was on our side. That means someone who knew changed something, and it wasn't me. And if it wasn't you, then who the...
I love Aaron Eckhart. You know, he's such a wonderful, wonderful actor. He has a very strong face.
Aaron Eckhart, who I've always been a fan of, I've known, you know, in my kind of social circle a little bit, and I really liked him, so I was really excited to get a chance to work with him. I think he's a fine, fine actor.
He liked to do a lot of rehearsal. He liked to get into the character more and more and more. I've been told he's a method actor, always thinking, living, you know, like that character. Unfortunately, you know, I have never liked to do any rehearsal. You know, so for my habit, you know, I like the real thing. I like the surprise. But after a few days, I got used to it.
You haven't read the script, have you?
If you watch a lot of John's previous movies, you notice that the villain, you know, not overtly evil on the surface, and the way that we understand Rethrick, I think it's the machine that corrupts the character, and therefore we want a very good actor who's charismatic, who has this kind of tortured soul in him, and that turn him really evil.
All right, here we go. Rehearsing. Rehearsing.
You know, business is business, and when somebody starts stepping on your dream and everything you worked for, he must die for it.
And action.
Sarah Lansing, from Paramount, she was suggesting to use Uma Thurman. It really woke me up, 'cause I always liked Uma.
The first draft that we read, that we were given, the love story was not that prominent in the film. Actually, Rachel has a very small part in the movie, but then we thought, that's really important. It's a love that changed Jennings, so we thought, who can be a good match for Ben? And Uma, she's tall, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she's a great actress. I think it worked beautifully.
I play Rachel Porter. She's very smart and has kind of a good gummy sense of language and is totally his equal and his match when they meet.
In some of the scenes, she looked pale and messy, and I tried to fix her hair, Okay, this is going to look nicer. No, John, it's fine, it's fine. I mean, I feel so, so a little embarrassing because a lot of movie stars, they all need some people really focus on them and take good care of them and try to and then make them look prettier. But she was not.
You don't remember me, do you?
Well,
we have a scene where she realizes that he actually doesn't remember her. He doesn't even recognize his own pants or shirt. It's so sort of devastating that somebody would give all that away.
What's really interesting is the way in which these two characters are then approaching the dynamic of this relationship. Me, it's like a first date. For her, it's like the guy she's been with for 3 years.
I think that just like a woman, it would boggle your mind. Somewhere in your ego, you'd think for sure that there's some stamp there.
The production designer is responsible for the look of the picture, the colors on the frame, the costumes, the cars, the sets, props. The production designer's job is to sort of hold true to one vision because you've got so many talented art directors and people and producers and they're all like wanting to do this or that or whatever. But it's got to look like there's a continuity.
Ready and action.
People think they know the way a Philip K. Dick story should look. They've seen Minority Report, they've seen Blade Runner. I sort of hope that they'll have some expectation that somehow they're going to see production design like one of those two films when they come to this, but then they're going to find a whole new twist.
If the CO2 gets low, well, we're going to make it another flat.
When I first met with the director and the producers of the picture, I was quite vocal in wanting to really get a sense from them, were we going to push this too far in the future?
I have never had any desire to make a sci-fi movie. I rather like to make it a human story. I love drama.
Paycheck is a script that we did not develop. It came to us, and I read it. I really liked it a lot, and I told John that you should do it, and he said, well, it's science fiction. I don't like science fiction. But I said, look, you did Face Off, which is kind of science fiction, but you turn it into a crime melodrama. You can do the same with this one.
There's no way I get out of that extraction room without the cigarettes and the glasses. I would have never gotten on that bus without the bus ticket. If I didn't have the diamond ring, I wouldn't have followed that kid to Reddy Grant.
Right.
I gave up that money just to make sure that I would pay attention to these items.
Why?
Because I know what you'd spend $500 billion to see. The future.
This is a contemporary story, and I think the director agreed right away that he wasn't interested in pushing it too far. Just a little bit. Things had to be clean and crisp, and obviously we were in the future and we did our nod to the future, but it's somewhere 3, 4, 5 years in the future. The subway station, we shot a bit at a real subway station in Vancouver, but the body of the action takes place in a big tent as stage, because we couldn't fit it on, there's no stage big enough. train tunnel we built. There was always a bone of contention, did we need this scene? And finally they pulled the trigger on it. We built a 300-foot train tunnel with tracks and built the front of a subway train, built in about 3 weeks. That's how it came down to this huge, huge set.
With the set designers, when you go into a place, it's very exciting as an actor because it's sort of like, oh boy, I live here, and what kind of person would live here?
Listen, I want to apologize for the way I acted the other day. I sometimes get like that, and I'm sorry.
This is the set that Uma Thurman is working in. Ben and Aaron Eckhart are sort of wandering through this into his lab, which is sort of connected but through a breezeway. So we have her sort of beautiful Earth Mother type green lab, and then he goes into this very cold, sterile lab to do what he's about to do.
No hard feelings.
And he looks back, and there she is, and she looks there. It's quite romantic, really, the way we link these two sets.
Action!
Originally, I wanted the whole biolab 2 times bigger. But somehow we had the budget and the schedule problem, so we have to make it smaller. But our production designer, he made all the set piece, movable set piece, just like Hitchcock did in all his film.
It was quite an elaborate set for this movie. Things had to move to accommodate camera. Things had to fall to accommodate special effects. Every wall comes away. John moves the camera everywhere. If we're shooting a scene like I'm sitting in a chair here talking to you, there'd have to be 30 feet of space around this whole chair, maybe more actually, just to accommodate the way John Woo shoots, because he moves that camera, everything's moving constantly, and you can't box him in or he'll tear the walls right out.
The great thing about production designer Sandor is that he had a great vision. When we try to figure out how to make the futuristic machine look interesting, he came up with the idea as how about, for the controller, he just put his hand on the 2 sides. The one looked like a crystal ball. The other hand is the controlling button. And he had to combine with the ancient palm reading philosophy in the design.
A palm reader comes and looks at your hand and can see your future in your hand. And then it clicked to me, and through a very short discussion after that, we started, the premise of our story will be that the machine is a very sophisticated palm reader.
Our lead character, Ben Affleck's apartment, we've sort of salted the room with things that might give him this sort of sensitivity. You don't need to explain it. It's magical. John Woo works with a wonderful cinematographer, Jeffrey Kimball, and with a group of effects people that he's worked with on many movies. And they know the drill. I was kind of the new kid in the group.
I've been a big John Woo fan ever since I saw The Killer. Actually, it was the first of his films I watched projected. He's such a magnificently elegant physical director. I was incredibly curious about what it'd be like to work with him.
You have a guy who is going to exploit the visual aspects of it, as well as the character aspects, in a really interesting, fully realized way, with John, who's somebody who, even back to Hard Boiled and The Killer, I have been a huge fan of. In fact, I have a poster of for The Killer in my house in Los Angeles. I guess I deserve that. I'm just happy you didn't use thunder and lightning.
Really? For an actor on screen, you are so aware of a frame. People alter their performance for what the frame is. The wide shot, it's expressive in a different way than a tighter shot. Things get much simpler. In this movie, because he's constantly moving the camera and there's so many different cameras of all different sizes, you kind of just can't even think about that anymore. It's kind of liberating. Working with John Woo is like If there's not 3 cameras on you at all times, then you're very confused.
He really understands movies, how to use this visual medium to accomplish the storytelling. I've done action movies with directors who understood that and action movies with directors who didn't, and it's such a difference. You show up, you play the scene, you invest as an actor the same amount of work in every scene. But some can work wonderfully and some can be terrible, just depending on how they're shot, how the director designs the scenes. Working with a guy like John, the way he shoots the scenes, the way he sets them up, the tension he creates is so gratifying as an actor because you put in all this hard work and then you go and you look at the footage and it's fabulous.
He's one of these guys who's editing it as he's shooting it, which is an amazing thing. I think he's probably got a lot of the movie in his head already.
Yeah, he's fine.
I've seen the whole movie in my mind. I've seen the movie already. So, and I know my actors. I know them very well. I know their technique. I know how they talk. I know how they walk. I even know where they could look.
A simple action. The way we get around Allcom, it's a very sophisticated building. We need a swipe card, gets you into the doors. Now, in a normal movie, a man arrives and swipes his card. It doesn't work. John Woo sees this shot of man slides card through door, more like this. 20 guys over here. Deep fog, 3 cameras. 2 of them steady, so they can move. 1 locked. More goons, more guns, man walks up to door, boom, boom, steady cam, out, and... And I'm sure studio executives are there. Why do they need 45 guys to get a man doing this? Because this is Bergman. This is Boo.